Please comment where you are listening from in the world. Thank you. Let's dive. I joined website for dating to try and get more dates. That was my only intent. I've been working too much for 2 years at my new job. I just wanted to have more fun. I got an email and set up a date with this girl. It's my 5th date from the site. It's been fun. But this one girl was like one of those love at first sight moments when we met at a restaurant. I saw her and she was perfect. I tried to play it cool, but I felt like I could just cut ties with all the girls I've dated and just commit to her. Physically, she was everything I could ever ask for and exactly my type. Her personality seemed about a 10 out of 10. About 30 minutes into sitting down, we didn't even order cause we were just talking. The chemistry was as good as it was with my first love when I was 13. It was perfect, sparks were flying. I thought I was done and ready to commit here. But then she tells me to forget about ordering food. Let's go somewhere else. And she has this idea. She won't say much, and I like surprises, so I didn't ask much. We jumped in my car and drove to this restaurant about 20 minutes away, kind of out of town. It was halfway up a mountain near a ski resort. I'm familiar with the area, so no big deal. We walk in, and her family is celebrating her aunt's birthday. There was only family and a lot of it, about 40 people. She introduces me, and everybody was happy to meet me and real nice. Everybody also knew that she was out on a first date. They were asking her stuff like, "Is this the guy? Is this your date? Is this the one?" All of a sudden I wasn't so cool and relaxed. I felt heavy pressure to be on my best behavior. It was high pressure to the 3rd degree. But everybody was nice, so that helped. We sat down and I started being questioned by her older sister, her aunt, and another lady that I forget her relation to my date. The mom started kind of defending me and telling them to back off and let me eat. But the interrogating continued. After I don't know how long, they turned to my date and jokingly said, "We approve." Then I was able to kind of get my bearings about me for a minute. I was totally off balance all night, just tense. I was afraid the back of my shirt would get that a big wet spot because I felt sweat on my back. So the sister brings her cute little girl and lets me hold her, and she and my date started taking pictures of me holding her, and somebody else's baby boy as well. I started to feel like the tone of it all was that we were a couple. I kind of felt like I was married to her, and these nice people were my in-laws. After a couple of hours, probably closer to 3 hours, everybody was kind of tiring out, and everything began to wind down. Keep in mind her car is still at the other restaurant down the hill. Then her dad suddenly asks me jokingly what my intentions are with his daughter, though I can't remember how he phrased the question. Everybody looked at the table, looked at me, which is about half the people there. I guess I was exhausted from all the questioning. I was questioned by multiple people multiple times, and the pressure of it all because I kind of lost it. He asked the question, I looked across the table at her, and she told her dad to stop it. Her dad smiles and jokingly says that he'd really like to hear my response, and her uncle, I think, also said he'd like to know, jokingly. I looked at my date and said, "Can I talk to you alone for a minute?" To which her dad laughs loudly, and then says, I made him nervous. So everybody is laughing now, and I guess it was a big joke. Then I said to my date, "Hey, can I talk to you alone for a minute?" I stood up in place, it was one of those long bench seats, and I couldn't push it back cause other people were sitting on it. Then her sister, I think, says, "Oh, there are no secrets in this family, speak your mind." People then laugh again, and everybody starts making jokes about not having secrets, and this man who married into the family somehow tells me that he remembers being in my place, and he says, "Let me give you some advice. The best thing to do right now is speak your mind and be honest." Then others join in and echo his sentiment, all jokingly, I think. So I looked at my date, and she says something like, "You can tell me anything here, we're all family." She also, I think, was joking, but I had started to lose my ability to tell when people were joking and when they were serious. So the dad says, "Wait, I haven't gotten an answer to my question." So finally I speak directly to the dad and say, "I'd like to discuss that with her first." But I regretfully laughed as I said it. So her dad says, "I asked you first, I want to know." I turn to my date, and she says something like, "Go ahead, you can tell me. I'm a big girl, I can handle it." So I said okay, and sat down, then took a couple of breaths while her dad kind of quieted everybody down. I started with, "I think I made a huge mistake." It all spiraled down from there. I said harsh things like that I felt like I was having a bad dream where I was suddenly married. I questioned her intentions in bringing me there. I said stuff like, "What were you thinking? Yes, I liked you, but I just met you, and right now I know your aunt." I pointed at her sitting next to me. "Better than I know you." I think she was humiliated, but I couldn't stop. The more I spoke, the more bad stuff came out. Total fucking tailspin. I said I want to find someone special, but I don't want to skip the first 29 dates and skip to date 30, which is what I'd done that night. Then people started interrupting and chiming in and suggesting that she and I slow down and have a real first date. I wasn't having it. I was out of control. I said, "No, it's too late for that. I feel robbed here. I wanted to meet this girl, get to know her, date her, and maybe fall for her. But now it's like we're engaged and her whole family is here, and there are all these expectations. We skipped the getting to know each other and dating part, so I feel robbed." Then I said yet another thing I regret. I said it's a huge red flag, with an emphatic gesture, that I asked for a minute alone with you to talk, and this is what I got instead. I added something like, "You're all great and a great family, but the lack of certain boundaries is a huge red flag for me. I would never let my relationship become family business." My date interrupts me at this point and says, "Okay, so let's talk in private. Let's go outside and talk. I'm sorry I didn't give you that minute. Let's go outside and talk privately. I'll give you all night." She was visibly shaken, and I could tell tears were inevitable. I stood up again, and realizing that I had insulted all of them, I just quietly walked out. I felt really bad cause they were all nice and had nothing but the best intentions for me. They love her, and they were literally telling me that I was good enough, which should have been a compliment, but I somehow took it the wrong way and spat in their face. I didn't even drink. Okay, so I met this cute guy on Tinder. All was going well while messaging, so I decided to bus over one night to hang out with him. I lived in a decent-sized college town, so public transit was a normal thing. Anyways, sounded like a good idea in theory, yes? Wrong. I have IBS and an anxiety disorder. We all know where this is going. Ladies, you know the feeling. When you're on the way to hang out with a guy, and your stomach turns to knots, and you're debating on canceling. Why do we all do this? However, unfortunately for me, this feeling overtook me while I was already on the bus. I felt the horrendous stomach ache and anxiety being to creep on. Bubble guts ensued. I told myself no problem. I'll hop off the bus super quick to stop at a connivance store. Only minor problem. I realize we are already in the suburbs, and I am 5 minutes from his house. I have to accept my fate. By the time I get off the bus, I am bending over in pain trying to suction the shit inside of me from leaving my body. I end up nearly running to his house to try to save my favorite American Eagle jeans. I get there and greet him, and politely ask to use the washroom. I turned on the faucet to try and drown out the sound of me literally dying. I was having some of the most extreme IBS shits of my life. Not only that, but my stomach was so upset that I started violently puking up my guts. So loud. There's no way that faucet was drowning out the noise of anything at that point. I had accepted the fact that there I was, stuck in a hot guy's washroom, absolutely obliterating it. I hoped I could just blame it on food poisoning and spend the night watching movies on the couch. I was planning my whole act when I went to flush. And then the unimaginable happened. I clogged the fucking toilet. I have never clogged a toilet in my life, and of course it had to happen right then and there. So I did what any rational person in that situation would do. I left. I simply put the seat down, ordered an Uber, washed my hands, and left. Told him I'll be right back. As soon as I left the house, I blocked him on everything. It has been 3 years, and I'm still ashamed and mortified. This poor boy had to deal with all of that and unclog his own toilet while just trying to get some pussy. Firstly, I have never been in a relationship, so a mate told me to start using Tinder. I'm not a model. I'm just an average college guy looking for some girls to hang with. So when I got matched with a few really pretty girls, I was very happy. So this all started around 2 months ago. I started talking to a girl, let's call her Ella. She was very pretty, and we had a lot in common. We went out 6 times, we had fun, and nothing was official. A month ago I got matched with another very pretty girl, but at this point I was really starting to like Ella. But this girl, let's call her Emily, sent me 2 messages. So being the nice guy, I sent her a message back after a couple weeks of talking to Emily. She wanted to get some drinks. I thought, what the hell, I don't think Ella is really that into me anyway. Little did I know that I received a text from Ella in the middle of the date I had with Emily asking if I was interested in becoming a little more serious. I was, and she was one of the nicest and most interesting girls I had ever talked to. So at this point I had 2 girls that were into me. Being a 20-year-old nerdy virgin that sits on Reddit all day, I was stoked. After a few drinks, Emily asked if I wanted to go back to her place. Shit, I panicked. I wasn't expecting this. I had no condoms. and was freaking the fuck out. I said let's get one more round. During this I rushed to the bathroom, hoping they had those baby prevention machines that spit out condoms for $1. Yes, they did. I bought 5. I was that excited, and who knows, I might break one or something. So I finish my drink and we start walking back to her place. A little bit tipsy, I start talking dirty, but luckily she's totally into it. We start walking up the stairs to her place, and before she opens the door she says, giggles, my roommate's a huge nerd and is probably in bed. So we get inside. I try to take my shoes off, and just my fucking luck my fat ass hits the small fish bowl next to the front door. Who the fuck puts a glass fish bowl next to the front door? Smash! Water everywhere. She starts freaking out, and I try to pick up the glass. But we both just start laughing. Then I hear my name, Mick. What are you doing here? Totally confused, half drunk, and thinking that Emily was just playing with me, I rambled. To fuck you, obviously. I look up, and turns out Emily and Ella are roommates, and poor old Mick is still a virgin. To sum up here, virgin, started using Tinder. Had 2 girls that turned out to be roommates. Still a virgin. After some time my ex would sleep with his phone in his pocket. Weird red flag, but I never said anything. When I noticed he wouldn't even pull up his phone in front of me, I knew something was up. One night it slipped out of his sweats, and I woke up with it near my legs. I was just going to put it on the charger honestly, but I saw he had a bunch of notifications and messages from a dating app. Man, I wanted to slap him awake, but I didn't. So I created a profile using a friend of mine's pictures that he never met, and I had her approval. She was his type 100%, and I knew he loved blue eyes. So when we matched like I knew we would, we got to chatting. We talked for about a week before I suggested meeting up. Flirting, sexual stuff. He told me that he was single and lived with a friend. So I suggested him paying for a hotel room so we could FCK. He said he would. We picked a spot. Mind you, I paid for everything because he was unemployed after losing his job. He drained my savings account over the year with manipulation. We're family, we take care of each other when we're in tough spots, he would say whenever I told him I didn't have extra money. I paid my student loans, all bills of a 1-bedroom, and the food. This boy had the ballsack to ask me for money in person, that his mom's birthday was coming up and he wanted to buy her something nice. So I gave him $50, just because it was hilarious at this point. I still think about the smile on his face in that moment. That weekend he left, said he was going to his mom's and that he'd probably stay the night. I kissed him goodbye and told him to have a great time. Then I packed all of his stuff and left it outside. I live in a US city, so it went fast. Got the locks changed. He messaged me a few times on the app. I told him I was running late because I wanted to look perfect, but I was coming and so sorry. My friend also sent me some sexy pictures to send him that didn't fully include her face. She's a real one. I even talked him into jerking off and sending me a video. Then after making him sit until about 1 a.m., I messaged him on the dating app a picture of his belongings being rummaged through by a homeless man, and to enjoy his stay in a hotel. As soon as my phone rang, I blocked his number and went to bed. He was outside of my door the Monday I came home from work. Ugly, crying, begging, telling me he was homeless and had nowhere to go. When I wasn't having it, he got angry per usual. Once he started grabbing and trying to get into my apartment, I called the police. Filed a restraining order because he did threaten my life and my pets for putting him out. Found out he ended up moving a few hours away where his only family is, and has a job. Hopefully he learned something. It is 3 days later, and I am still letting out deep sighs and Finn from Adventure Time high-pitched shrieks to try to get this experience out of my head. I just downloaded Tinder after a stressful semester, and I exchange a max of 20 messages with this guy. We agreed to meet up at his address, so I just assumed that we were going to hook up. I didn't bother being explicit about what I wanted. An aside, I should also mention for context that I have a really bad tendency of putting love interests, whether it's people I meet on a dating app for a few dates or a long-term relationship, on pedestals, which is complementary to my low self-esteem/low self-worth. I also used to identify as a lesbian, which I don't anymore. The first Tinder hookup experience I had was a year ago with a guy who started kissing me as soon as I took my jacket off at his apartment. No small talk or anything. So I kinda just assumed that's what all Tinder hookups were like. We both know what we were there for, so no point in small talk. Oops, mistake number 1. After that one time, I got a girlfriend, and we have since broken up, so I was never really able to explore any farther. Back to present. I get to his apartment, and it's a really cool space. He had told me about himself over text. He plays an instrument, teaches that instrument to kids as a job, works at a museum with kids as another job, is a consultant. His band just finished recording an album the other day, all while being a grad student at a university that's really hard to get into. And his apartment just told me that, yeah, this is his life. The kind of life I've wanted since childhood, but have since given up on because that kind of life only exists in books, right? I kind of had an inkling that being with him in any sort of sense would bring up those old tendencies again. But I wasn't planning on dating him, and he was really hot and seemed interested in me over text. And damn it, I deserved to let off some steam after a stressful semester. Once I get there, though, I am totally in awe, and I start getting nervous and intimidated and making way too much small talk and asking him about his life. Mistake number 2. I don't seem interested in just fucking, which I am. And then this is the moment that I keep replaying in my head over and over that makes me yelp. Right in the middle of small talk, I word vomited, and I quote, "I have to say this, or I'm going to be super self-conscious the entire time, but I'm only used to being with women." No context, no preface, no nothing. Mistake number 3. He paused for a bit before saying, "We don't have to do anything." Fuck, oh fuck, why did I say that? Fuck, he's obviously not the type of guy who'd just ambush you with kissing right when you get there. He seems like he respects boundaries. Am I supposed to expect Tinder guys to be courteous when we both know we're just gonna fuck? Did he bring me over so he could get to know me? Are we not FING? What is going on? Anyway, I either blacked out what hand-wavy thing I said right after that, or I just really said nothing at all to assure him that, no, I didn't want to do stuff. But I was too awkward to know what to say to smooth that over. So I make my way over to his couch, because I'm sat at the floor playing with his pets at this point, and he offers to get me water, or to get me drunk, or to get me high. All options which under normal circumstances I would have considered taking him up on. But I knew it wouldn't be a good idea to get high or drunk when I was so anxious. Mistake number 4. We had to find something else to do, which was playing a video game. The way his apartment was set up was that we had to sit on 2 separate chairs that faced the screen. No space for physical contact or anything to make a move, basically. We ended up playing Pikmin 2 for 3 hours before I realized that, oh, I'm the one who's supposed to transition us out of this state. He probably doesn't know what to do since I made that awkward comment. So I said something and we ended up starting a movie while I'm still sat at his chair. He starts pulling out blankets and pillowcases for his bed. It's a studio, so his bed was pretty much right next to his chair. And he laid on his bed facing the screen while I'm still on his chair. My first instinct was to think, okay, he's trying to make a move definitely, but then my brain went OF. He said he has work tomorrow morning, and we legit just played a video game for 3 hours. It's starting to get pretty late. I've overstayed my welcome, and plus I was so awkward. Oh my god, he's trying to tell me to leave so he can go to bed and sleep, but he's too polite to just tell me to leave his apartment, so I go. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize that it was so late. If you need to go to bed for work tomorrow, just let me know. Gave him an easy out, but totally forgot to give him an easy in. Wink with a frown. He kind of considers me for a moment and asks me if I had a curfew. I go no, then more beats pass and he goes, yeah, I guess I should go to bed soon. And I go, yeah, I guess I'll walk home. Proceed to put my shoes on in awkward silence, hesitate before hugging him goodbye. And me going, I'll text you. And then apologizing for being so awkward and him going, haha, aren't we all? Typing this out makes me want to bleach my brain and groan into oblivion. I speedwalk home replaying what the fuck just happened, and once I get home I yell to my roommates the entire story. Cue roommates going, you spent 3 hours piking Min, but not the right one. You spent the entire night playing with the wrong joystick, and more, etc. Anyway, my fuck up was obviously those awkward moments, and also I have to go to therapy about this because for the past 3 days I've just been thinking about how I'm not living my life to the fullest. And instead of letting how he lives his life inspire me, it just turns me into an anxious ball thinking about how I'm a bum and don't do enough, and how quickly I gave up on living a life like his, because it's so easy for me to just blame my brain on how it can't handle executive functions properly. And now I'm in anxious overdrive trying to get as much done as possible with a really long to-do list of things I aspire to, but it's driven by anxiety instead of a genuine inspiration, so that's something new to tell my therapist. So I just realized that I've fallen for one of the most heartbreaking and wallet-draining scams out there. For me, I can spot a scam within a mile away, but this one was something I didn't expect I would fall for. It started when I was so down and desperate for a relationship that I went through finding true love on Tinder. I'm not a very attractive person, but I can cook and I have a nice personality. Anyway, I went through a week without making a match and ended up paying to go for premium. I ended up with a match. She wasn't that much attractive on her pictures, and that I can see that she lives near my place. We chatted, and I was feeling a connection with her to the point that I'm contented to uninstall Tinder and talk to her on a different platform. I was hoping we could talk via SMS and call each other, but she told me about WhatsApp. Me not having the right state of mind, because I was having a genuine affection with her, went ahead with talking more through there. After a few days of talking about our future, she started to talk about crypto and asked me if I had experience with it. Me being a know-it-all said yes and bragged that I invested in some coins, but I lost some. She then started talking about how I lost since I was looking at a long-term investment. Apparently she was showing me her transactions, her so-called profits, and a car that she bought with them profits. This was a red flag for me already, but I don't know, I was caught off guard already because of my feelings for her and that there was a part of me that wanted to see her. Eventually she gave me a website to go through. Not sure if I can post it here, but I am willing to post it for awareness. And she told me about BWU. I've checked more information about this coin, but it wasn't showing any information on CoinMarketCap, but I gave it a chance since she was guiding me through investing just $100. So on the website it shows that fake coin, and you'll have to wait for 60 seconds or 120 seconds to make a profit. Well, long behold, after a few minutes of talking to her and having her guide me through all the steps and process, we ended up with $130. I was able to withdraw it from the scam site to my wallet, and it was fun, but after that, within the next few days, she was telling me about the market being good and that we can make thousands. Gullible me ended up making a depot site. Eventually she wanted to join me and made a depot site of her own on my account on the scam site. Here we are, both of us made a profit of 2,000 USDT, and I was ready to make a withdrawal, but was told that we broke their rules, and that my account is going to get frozen. I was then advised to make another account, and need to make a depot site of 20% of the old account's balance to activate the new one. Me panicking and her telling me she also has money into it reluctantly deposited, and apparently everything was transferred. But in order to withdraw all of it, we would need to trade, and so we did. I followed her instructions and ended up with 21,000 USDT. By the time I was going to withdraw, I was told that I needed to pay taxes for the IMF another 17% of the withdrawal amount. At this point, I already realized it's something else, made me question a lot of things already. At this point, I'm already thinking of killing myself, since I've lost a lot already because of this. My friends and family, they told me about this, but I was so invested because I felt that she was real and that, I don't know, I'm broke emotionally and financially. I'm 28 now, but this story happened when I was 18. And honestly, looking back on it, I was really lucky. Context. At the time, I was a student in Grenoble and I lived in a university residence. An important thing to know is that my window overlooked the small visitor parking lot, just in front of the entrance to the residence. To enter the enclosure, you needed a badge and passed an automatic barrier. Another essential thing, at that moment, I had a hard time saying no. I was the type to say yes just to avoid conflicts, to not upset or upset anyone, even when I didn't want to. Add to that a good dose of naivety and a tendency to believe that everyone is benevolent. In short, I wasn't the most suspicious girl in the world. And like many, I was on a dating app where I had matched with a few guys without necessarily following through. Now the story. One evening in November, it must have been around 11 p.m. I was in bed in my pajamas, ready to sleep, when a horn sounded. Once, twice, then again and again. At first, I don't really get it. I tell myself that maybe it's a guy who's waiting for someone and is getting impatient. But it continues. An unbearable, hyper-insistent noise. And then I hear a voice screaming my name, but like really loud several times in a row. And since I have a fairly rare first name, I understand that it could only be for me. My heart starts to race. I get up, go to the window, and peek discreetly behind my curtain. Below, I see a guy standing next to his car, his hands around his mouth to carry his voice even further. At the moment, I'm super confused. Who is this guy? Why does he call me that? I pick up my phone and see a notification of one of my matches on the dating app. And then I realize, he spammed me with messages. Something like, "I'm downstairs, come see me." I finished the job. I told myself I could pass. And there I tilt. This guy, who I barely know, is outside my house in the middle of the night, honking his horn and shouting my name. And the worst part is that, like a moron, I told him in which residence I lived. At this point I panic a little, but I tell myself that I will just ignore it and he will eventually leave. Except no. He insists. He honks again. He continues to write to me. He refuses to give up. And this is where I made a huge mistake. I realized that my first name is posted on my front door, like those of all the other residents. And in my head I'm like, damn, my neighbors must be freaking out. Everyone knows it's me he's calling. They're going to hate me. I'm so afraid of disturbing that I tell myself that I have to go downstairs just to tell him to leave and avoid alienating my neighbors. I'm so drunk that I go downstairs in my pajamas, just with my winter jacket on top. Not done, not made up, not awake. My goal is for him to realize straight away that I'm not here to discuss and for him to leave. But when I arrived in the parking lot, I immediately felt that I had made a huge mistake. First of all, he doesn't look at all like his photos. He's smaller than I imagined, but super sturdy. He has an unkempt beard, dirty hands, and overalls covered in white paint. And his car an old Peugeot 205 utility vehicle without a rear seat. I look at it quickly, and even if I don't yet see what's behind it, I don't feel it at all. He smiles at me directly and suggests that I go upstairs to be warm. Everything in me screams a no, but I'm stuck. I tell myself that he will insist even more if I refuse. So like a fool, I say okay, but not for long. The worst date of my life begins. I go up, and then I instantly regret it. Already the smell. It smells musty, dirty. I look around me, and I see empty water bottles crushed on the ground, cake wrappers everywhere, it's filthy. Then my eyes land on the back, tarpaulins, hammers, screwdrivers, ropes, buckets of paint. I keep telling myself that it's probably just a guy who works in construction, and that's normal, but in context, I'm starting to panic. He turns on the radio, puts on his seatbelt, starts up and says, "I love riding at night, it relaxes me." I am frozen. He suggests taking a tour of the neighborhood, and I don't know why my body is giving up on me. I can no longer move, no longer speak. Without really realizing it, I let him do it. At first, he walks around the residence, and I tell myself that it's okay. But after a while, he changes direction. Street lamps are becoming rarer. Then not at all. We are sinking into a zone where there is nothing left. And then, I realize that we are in an industrial zone. Buildings under construction, stationary cranes, construction equipment left there in the dark. It's a horror movie setting. I start to hyperventilate. My brain throws the worst possible scenarios at me. He's going to kill me. He's going to cut me up with his tools. He's going to bury me under a concrete slab. No one will ever find me. I try to think quickly. I take my phone and send a discreet message to my best friend. If you don't hear from me in 10 minutes, call the police. Old 205 utility vehicle, short and strong guy, dirty beard, overalls. I try to be natural. I just say, MH as a response when he speaks. But he ends up giving me a sideways look and saying, "You're completely white. What's wrong?" And there, I don't know where I get the courage from, but I look him straight in the eyes and I blurt out, "I want to go home. You bring me back. Now." He stares at me, surprised. A few seconds pass, they seem endless to me. Then he finally obeyed. The return journey seems to take forever. As soon as we arrive in front of the residence, I break away and run away. I enter my building without looking back, go up to my best friend's house who lives right above me. I open the door, still in shock, and she grabs me by the shoulders, shouting, "But are you stupid or what? Children are told to never ride with a stranger." Yeah, I was stupid. But the worst part of it all is that the next morning, I receive a message. "I love this evening. Can't wait to see you again." Really? The guy didn't realize there was a problem? I still ran away. And as an attachment to the message, a deep pic. Yes, really. Today with my best friend, we laugh about it, but that night, I really thought I was going to die. So to start things off, I'm gay. I live in a small town in the middle of nowhere, USA. I'm a male 18. I wasn't ever really bullied for being gay. Unless it was online, everyone was cool with it, except the super conservative families in town. Of course, I've heard my fair share of names and threats, but I shrugged them off. It's normal to me. There's this group of boys, who are like the super bro dude straight guy group of the school. They act more gay than I do, but still call me names, etc. In this group, there's this guy I'll call Skylar. Skylar is my age, looks like a puppy dog, and was very sweet to me always, but always presented as straight. Which is why I was shocked when he asked me out this summer. I mean, I'm not ugly or anything. I just didn't expect this super dude bro jock to ask me out. Our first date was amazing. I mean, it was on the 4th of July at our state fair. We got corn dogs, played games, and he kissed me on the Ferris wheel. After a few dates, we had gotten a lot closer. We never had sex though. He wanted to wait, and I respected that. My ex-boyfriend's birthday was on October 20th. He had this huge party and invited everyone, and of course I wasn't shocked when he invited me. This is where I was stupid. I was head over heels for this guy. I was like stupid in love with him. I mean, I'd get giddy every single time I saw him, and I'd get butterflies in my chest whenever he touched me, even after 3 months. I was in love with him. I think part of me still is, which is why I'm heartbroken writing this. I bought my boyfriend Skylar this beautiful pendant and chain. It was a 18-karat gold with a diamond. Very expensive, cost me 2 years of working part-time at McDonald's. I was very excited to give this to him. At his party, he brushed me off the entire time. I gave him his gift and a letter that I wrote from the bottom of my heart. I thought we were forever. Turns out it was all a lie. He started getting giggly with his friends reading the letter, and when he finished, he was crying laughing. That's when he started explaining that it was all a dare and that he only went out with the town F slur to win a bet. He thanked me for the necklace and went on with his party. I've stayed home for several days now. I'm heartbroken and just devastated. I thought this boy was the absolute love of my life. Turns out all of his friends was in on everything. To the text messages and the letters we would write each other. We were on the down low because he said he wasn't ready to tell his family he was bisexual. This was already a red flag I ignored because his mom is bisexual and would have been completely fine with it. But this entire time he tricked me. He broke my heart into pieces, and I can't help but scream into my pillow. I want to hurt him the way I hurt. I want to hear him scream the gut-wrenching screams I scream late at night when the earth is quiet into my pillow, so my family can't hear me. I can't go back to school. I am already the laughing stock on social media. I'm thinking of switching schools and going to live with my aunt. I was blinded by love and hurt. This was actually last December, but I'm always told this is a hilarious story, so I thought I'd share. Last September, my ex-wife and I filed for divorce. We were separated. One of my best friends says I should try dating. She's never led me astray, so I say fuck it, why not? First girl I match with on Hinge seems nice. We talk for a few days since I'm on a business trip and plan to go out when I get back. She's a therapist, works with neurodivergent kids. We chat a bit. All's good. We go on our first date after work on a Tuesday. I pick her up at her place. Go to my favorite pizza joint in her area. Starts a bit awkward as first dates do. She then tells me, "I, the girl, can't wait to tell you I'm pregnant." Okay. Weird. Maybe the nerves. Understand we had no booze at this point. I think she's just nervous. Great. A few minutes later, she's telling me about her parents who live near the Wisconsin/Minnesota border, and we are in the Chicagoland area. These parents show up and sit down with us. Yet, they lived in the Great White North. So I'm against the wall of the booth with her dad sitting next to me. She's across from me. Her mom next to her. Shit. Okay. Guess I'm paying for their meal too. Double date. Great. Mom and dad tell me they've heard a lot about me, yada yada. How much could they know? They talk about what it's like working for a vocational school. So I start freaking out as I've only said I'm a school admin, nothing more, not where I work. I say it's great, but I'm looking to go back to the middle school or elementary next year. Dad says he can't wait to have a son-in-law like me. Mom says she can't wait to have me marry into the family. Awkward. They were drinking. So I give them a pass. Awkward evening continues. Yada yada get to know you shit. We start leaving and I picked up this chick, so I've got to drop her off. Grandma raised a gentleman, you know? Figured I'd do that and dip. Nope. We get back, parents park next to me. Fuck. Invite me up. Mom said she baked a great pumpkin pie earlier today. Well shit. I love me some pumpkin pie. Decide fuck it. Might as well get something out of this night. Had some pie. Truthfully, some of the best pumpkin pie I've ever had. I try to leave and they weren't really letting me by giving me more pie or starting a new conversation topic. Best friend, one who told me to start dating, calls. Asks what's up. Took the call in the bathroom and she comes up with this plan. I'm gonna go pick up my friend Eddie because she thought I shouldn't use a girl's name with his flat tire. Great. I got an out. She says she needs to walk her dog, annoying shit. Yapping dog. Rubbing his ass on everything and dragging his ass across the floor. Very poorly trained. Fuck. Fine. Come with and walk me down. Mom comes too. I'm standing there trying to leave as Chick takes her dog for a shit. Mom says it's nice to meet me yada yada. And says, I'm so glad daughter found you. I didn't think she'd be able to settle down since we've had her committed 3 times. And walks away. WTF, bomb dropped. I'm panicking now, sweating a bit. I turn to get in my car, and Chick is right there. Hugs me. Tries to kiss me. Yada yada. Tells me, I love you, and can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you. Me great gotta go. You know friend needs help. I get in the car. This chick is in my rear mirror, and she's calling me. I pick up and she said, you didn't say you love me. Best friend calls, oops. Hang on, important call, and picks up. Tells my buddy this. She's laughing her ass off. I'm scared shitless at this point, thinking headlights in my rear view mirror are her. So I start speeding for the highway. I'm speeding away. Get pulled over. Cop asks why. I tell him everything. Takes a good 5 to 6 minutes to get him to understand. He noticed I have Wisconsin plates. All he says is bro, and gives me great advice. Never put your dick in crazy. Thanks, brochacho. Cop feels sorry for me and escorts me to the highway. Great. Freedom. Chick texts me. I try to ghost her. Now, I left out an important detail. I went on a school night, wearing spirit wear with my school logo. Once you know the name, it's hard not to find, as I'm the only type of school like this in my county. I go to my boss the next day and tell him. Says I'm a fucking idiot for wearing my work shirt. Laughs his ass off about the whole situation. Asks if I blocked her. Shit. That's a good idea. So I do it. Tells me I'm a fucking idiot again for not thinking this through. She figured out where I worked. And starts calling my desk. Asking when we are going out. Leaves a message, says she wants to be engaged by the time she's 30. Which was weeks away, literally the next month, since we went over birthdays. At this point I'm freaking out. I have an SRO, school resource officer, in my building. I tell him what happened. Gave her name. He told me he'd take care of it if she came by. But also told me to move my car to the back, gated and can't see. Dude's a saint, and it was a great idea. Chick shows up asking to see me. Security tells her I don't work here. She gets snotty with the SRO. Gets escorted out. Calls my desk phone, pleading with me to give her a chance. Finds my sister, my best friend, all on Facebook. Tells them we are soulmates. I tell them to block her ass. Chick was crazy. Got her to calm the F out when I told her I'm going to report her for harassment to her licensing board. All bullshit. No idea if that would do anything. And that, kids, is the story of how I met your mother. Kidding. But damn was I scared of dating for a bit. I think we all know where this was going. I've been talking to this guy for about a month, so everything is very new, and we are still getting to know one another. I also recently underwent a huge storm in my area, so I couldn't actually use my bathroom very frequently for the past 3 days. He invites me over as he got power back before I did, and we haven't seen each other in about 2 weeks between the storm, life, travels. I go over, everything is fine, we get dinner and have a good time, and then we start to kind of reel it in for bed. I go to the bathroom to shower and prep, if you will, for potential nighttime festivities. And prep I did, for, evidently, a different type of festivities. See, those 3 days really smacked me all of a sudden, and there was no turning back. I figure, hey, first time for everything, a girl's gotta go when a girl's gotta go. I muster the courage to overcome my anxiety with using the toilet outside of my home. Mission accomplished. Flush that bastard down. Nope. Okay, well, sometimes you need a two-fare, right? Maybe he didn't hear that first flush anyway. The toilet gurgles at me in a laughably cruel way. No dice. Okay, not the end of the world. Surely this guy has a plunger. No, not on the floor, not in the cabinet. I run out to the kitchen. Maybe he's got one of those weird kitchen plungers? Nope. He's in the shower in the other bathroom. I wait for him, sheepishly, to finish up. It's been a minute though, maybe, just maybe. The bathroom gods will have mercy on me. The third flush will really just send my demon to its jail in hell. Third flush. The toilet now roars at me, as it bubbles up way too quickly and begins to overflow everywhere and flood the bathroom. Mercifully, just clean water as the monster was stuck down in the belly of the beast. My shower towel is a casualty in the battle. I try and fail to catch the waterfall of toilet water with it. It's soaked through, and now there is standing water around the basin. I am panicking, holding back tears as I realize I now have to directly ask this man for a plunger and somehow clean his bathroom, which I have successfully demolished. He finishes showering. Instead of approaching the situation with any sense of normalcy, I panic and say, "Hey, just lay down, I'm gonna grab something from your master bathroom I think I need." He does so. He's so sweet. No plunger. My life is flashing before my eyes. I now finally cave. "Hey, do you have a plunger?" "No." The tears are involuntary as I cry at him, begging him not to help me. I mop and clean his entire bathroom, while forcing him to stay in his bedroom. The bathroom is clean. The toilet has drained, enough to seem as though nothing has happened. I cannot calm down. He knows something has happened. I told him I flooded it, but not how. I'm sure he can piece it together. There are no nighttime festivities. I am too mortified to even look him in the eyes. The morning comes. My dignity is crushed, and it is palpable. We part ways. He is still kind as ever, and trying to laugh the situation off. I get home. I get a text. I am headed to the hardware store to get a plunger after flooding the bathroom again. Who knew I needed one? Please just kill me now. So, when my then GF and I started dating, I discovered early on that she can be quite physical. In the sense that she likes to push, hold, punch even. Bear in mind she is not actually trying to hurt me. She is just playful like that. I found this both adorable and fun, so I played along. And here is the fuck up. If she pushed me, I would act like I had to balance myself, or if the bed/sofa was nearby I would fall onto it. If she held me, I would pretend that it was difficult for me to get out of her grip. If I pushed her and she resisted, I would pretend it was hard work. Same with me holding her arms, etc. You get the idea. I always assumed she knew I was playing along, and not actually physically straining myself to compete with her strength. This went on for months. One day we were chilling on the sofa, watching a show when I realized I was running late to meet some friends. I told her I need to shower and make a move. She decided this was a good time for a play fight. She sat on top of me to pin my arms under her knees. I played along and struggled to move her off me. A little more wrestling took place, with me playing along like I do. Then I told her I really need to make a move. She was not done, and continued to hold/push me back onto the sofa. Eventually I decided I need to win this little fight and get going. So, I got her onto her back, held her hands near her head, and leant down to kiss her on the cheeks a few times, and let her know again that I am running late. She tried to move her arms and could not. While struggling, she grunted out, "Why are you so strong today?" I laughed, fuck up no two, and looked at her like she was joking. Her eyes went wide with comprehension, and she stopped struggling. "You are always this strong," she asked, almost to herself. "Come on, babe, you did not really think we are of equal strength, did you?" I replied. I then went to take a shower, got ready, and as I was heading out the door, I noticed that she might have been a little glum. Me, being fully aware that I do not fully comprehend the mystery of female emotions, had no clue why she was upset. I did what all men do, I guessed. I gave her a kiss and said I won't be gone for long, and that I can pick up her favorite Chinese on the way back. I assumed she was upset about me not spending the afternoon with her. No reply. Fuck up no three. I should have spent some time talking it through. I instead went on my merry way, and had a great fucking time with my friends. She spent the next few hours brewing, simmering, seething, and of course overthinking. I came home with the Chinese, and as soon as I put it down on the dining table, she sprung out of the corner and attacked me. It genuinely surprised me, and I reacted by bare hugging her to my chest. She struggled with more force than she normally would, and I just held her. I kept asking what was wrong. She gritted her teeth and said, "You lied to me." Eventually she stopped trying to fight me, and I let her go. She then told me how she feels like I lied to her about our fights, and that really all the time I was laughing at her in my head as I pretended that she was actually winning. I tried to take the conversation seriously, but come on, how the fuck am I supposed to take this seriously? So I may have been somewhat mocking, flirting, and generally being an arse about the whole thing. A week later she broke up with me. FML. So this happened over 10 years ago, but still gets me nauseated when I think about it. I just started college and was on a full scholarship after working hard and completing many interviews and references to get this highly competitive scholarship. In one of my classes, there was a stunningly beautiful woman who came to me asking questions all the time about the course we're on, and we also end up being study partners in some group tasks. I was very much attracted to her, and she seemed to enjoy my company. So one day I asked her out for dinner date, and to my delight she accepted. Being a poor college kid, I did not have much money, but I did not want to go to a horrible chain restaurant. so I booked restaurant in the next town that had decent reviews but hopefully was not overly expensive. The dinner was going well, we were having a very animated conversation, and the food was very good. The restaurant was almost empty, but another large group people on the other side of the restaurant. But I was a bit nervous on how much the bill will be, and did not want to get caught being not able to pay the bill, but alas, this was the least of my problems to come. In the restaurant, a group of people were on the other side of the restaurant, had one uncontrolled child approximate 3 or 4 years old running around unsupervised. The waitress was getting really upset with him, and the group as he was disturbing other tables and pulling cutlery from other tables, and the parents didn't seem to be concerned with his behavior. But he wasn't really disturbing me as I was having a great time with my date, and I ignored the antics of the child. My date and I ordered dessert, and I excused myself to go to the bathroom. While in the bathroom, I could hear the small child making motorbike noises running around in the bathroom for a few seconds before exiting. I didn't see him as I was facing the urinal, and he had left by the time I turned around to wash my hands. I proceeded back to my table when dessert had just been served. During dessert, my date commented that the other table where the child belongs to seemed to be staring at us in a funny way. My back was to them, but again I was having a great time and did not care if another group was staring at us or not. After we finished dessert, I was surprised to see the restaurant lit up with the blue and red lights of a police car. A lady from the other table, in which I now know is the mother of the child, went out and met with the officers, and then led them to my table and pointed to me and stared, "Here is the man that assaulted my son." I was completely shocked. I told the child's mother that I had absolutely nothing to do with her son and never spoken or touched him. She told in the offices that I exposed myself to him while he was in the bathroom. She explained to the police that her son said to her, "I saw that man's wee," when I walked past their table from the bathroom. There were 2 police officers, one male, one female officer. The male officer led me outside for more questioning. Female stayed inside talking to the mother. I explained to the police that when I went to the bathroom, I heard the kid come into the bathroom for a few seconds, but I didn't see him, and he was gone by the time I washed my hands. I never spoke to him or talked to him or even looked at him in the bathroom. The police officer took notes, and the female officer came out and advised I was under arrest, and they will take me to the police station for further investigation. The mother out the front of restaurant is yelling at me that I was a pervert and I need to be locked up. My date made a brief statement to the police. She ended up paying and catching a cab home, and I got a free ride to the police station. At the police station, the officer advised that according to the mother, the child uses the word "we" as a euphemism for penis, and the mother have made a formal complaint that I exposed my penis to the child while I was in the bathroom. I gave my own statement advising that I was weeing in the bathroom. The mother was not there, and yes, the child must have seen my back whilst I was urinating, as that's what I was doing in the toilet at the time. There was no way he saw my penis in the few seconds when he ran in unsupervised and out. Nevertheless, the police charged me with indecent exposure to a child under 12. This being a small town, I got locked up for the weekend, because there was no judge available to grant bail on the weekend. I rang my father explaining the situation, and he arranged a lawyer to appear with me on Monday. I basically had no sleep for 2.5 days in the lockup, and I was still wearing my restaurant clothes for my Monday court appearance. My lawyer petitioned the judge for the charges to be dropped, as if we locked up everyone who went to a public bathroom in the presence of someone under the age of 12, then we would have to lock up the whole country. The judge agreed, and the charges were dropped, and I could go home. But the damage had been done. My date told her girlfriends what happened, as if she was the victim of a horror date, and then her friends, who then told the whole college that I exposed myself to young children. The next day, everyone was staring me in class, some people coming up to me, asking what happened. Some people no longer go near me or talk to me, as the rumor mill was on fire. My date never spoke to me again. 2 weeks later, I had to front the college board and had to defend an honor code violation, as my scholarship was now in jeopardy. Though cleared, this incident hung like a dark cloud over my time in college, being a social outcast, and severely curtailed my social and professional life in my early 20s, not to mention having a hefty legal bill being sent to my parents. This quite literally all just happened, as in I ended my conversation with them less than 20 minutes ago, and I'm still absolutely fucking reeling from it. I met this person on a dating app. They were really nice, not super pushy. We seemed to share a lot of common interests. Things kept developing for weeks. 2 days from now would have made a month actually. We shared personal stories, or at least I did. I don't know about them at this point. We exchanged photos, including ones that seemed to help verify identities. It was going fantastic. I was feeling great, better than I've felt since I was a teenager. We started talking about maybe meeting up. We're a decent distance from each other, or at least that's what I was told. But the distance wasn't so great as to be insurmountable. We discussed meeting up in a city between the two of us. That's where things went downhill. First they asked me to pay for the hotel, which I was totally fine with doing. I wasn't fine with sending them the money through Cash App to pay for said hotel. That's when they started acting kind of funky, and alarm bells started going off for me. They eventually dropped that, and said I could book the hotel myself if that would make me feel better. Then they said they totally forgot they didn't have money for gas. I said I wasn't comfortable sending them money before we had met, and they started trying to guilt trip me about it. Anyways, I was already feeling super hurt at this point, because the options were either A, they were scamming me, or B, they weren't at all the person I thought they were. I eventually told them I could pay for gas. I just needed to video call with them first to set my mind at ease. That's when they started making excuses. The camera on their phone was broken, so they couldn't video call. Convenient considering they had just sent me a photo supposedly taken the day before, but I was still really hoping I was just being paranoid at this point. So I suggested they ask their roommate to use their phone really quickly. Just 5 minutes was all I needed to make myself feel better about this. They still wouldn't do it. They kept asking why I wouldn't trust them, saying they only needed $50 for gas. That's when I really started to give up hope that it wasn't a scam. But I was so desperate to believe them. I finally broke down and basically laid out all my cards on the table. I told them I was bipolar, which we had yet to discuss as I wasn't really sure how to approach that topic. I told them that I just couldn't take the chance I had been scammed, and that finding that out would probably crush me. I told them that if I actually got scammed like this, it would send me spiraling, and I was terrified of losing all the progress I had made over the last few years. I told them all of that. I basically opened up my heart and put it on a plate. They responded by saying, "So you won't pay for my gas?" Anyways, I'm in FING shambles. I liked them, or I guess I liked the person they were pretending to be. I thought there was really something there, and for the first time in years, I let myself hope that maybe, just maybe, I was worthy of someone else's love. I don't know how to move on from this, and I'm still just baffled by the fact someone would do this for a couple $100s. This happened last night. It's the morning after, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around how the fuck such a good first date could end so badly in the strangest twist of events. So I'm a 39-year-old man. I'm about 6 months out of my last relationship. Breakup sucked, took a lot of time to process, but I'm finally starting to feel better and comfortable dating. I'd been on a number of first dates over the summer and the fall just to keep myself out there. I work from home in a suburb, and my opportunities to meet women organically are pretty rare, so naturally I'm using the dating apps. I've found that getting back to dating after about 2 years of being out of it, things are different and even shittier. I really hadn't hit it off with anyone I'd gone out with this summer. Even when I thought I had found a fun connection recently on another date, it went nowhere. Cue last night's date. She came out to meet me in my town, kind of a long Uber ride for her. We went out to dinner where I'd reserved a table, but we got there early and sat at the bar. She's gorgeous, funny, talkative, and we really just hit it off. We're having such a great time there that we ended up staying at the bar and sitting next to each other. Sitting side by side, having a great conversation and lots of touching. Ended up there a few hours, one thing led to another, and we were kissing at the bar. We decided to grab the check and head back to my place to kick it and smoke a little weed. For background, I've been smoking quite a bit this year starting in summer, but I'm still pretty sensitive to THC. It can really quiet me down, and if I get really high, I definitely get some temporary anxiety while high, and it goes away. It's something that kind of happens on the way up. So we're hanging in the living room on my couch. I pack a big bowl for us, pass it to her so she can smoke it first. She hits it hard and hands it back to me, and I inattentively take a pretty massive hit without thinking about it. I'm instantly way higher than I'd planned or was really able to deal with in that situation with someone new, where there was already a lot of sexual tension in the room. So we're chatting and she says something about how she was in a 12-year relationship. She took some time for herself, and she's just getting back into dating, and just wanted me to know. Instead of having any remark like about how that's a long time or asking her how long she's been single or if she was married. Anything at all. Instead, I was confused about how we got onto the topic. So my response was basically, yeah. And she replied, yeah, and then things just got awkward as fuck. I was so high that I was basically nonverbal, and she just opened up about something pretty personal. Complete disconnect. I think we ended up laughing about it after I said sorry. I was just super duper baked. We moved on, but it definitely was a little weird. We hang for another few minutes, and then she says she had a great time, and she's sorry, but she needs to get back home because she has a family brunch in the morning. Totally chill and makes sense. She lives like an hour away, it's past midnight, and she needs to be up early to spend time with family. I was still just high as fuck and acting a little awkward. I was frustrated at myself for it. So she's grabbing her coat and putting her shoes on as her Uber is getting closer. Important to note that she was wearing heels that were super high. I am hanging out on the couch talking with her, and she's standing a few feet away. Next thing I know, she loses her footing and falls straight towards me. I'm sitting on the couch with a knee up. She falls face first and whacks her cheekbone right on my kneecap. Instantly she grabs her cheek, and I'm like, dude, are you okay? I grab her an ice pack and apologize profusely. Her face is basically red and starting to swell, and her Uber is coming. We tried to laugh it off, but holy shit was that shocking. The mood was completely wrecked, and all of the tension between us transformed into the weirdest fucking energy. Keep in mind I'm still high as a kite. I walk her outside to her Uber, where it's raining. I hadn't put my shoes on or anything, just wearing socks and walking her out in the rain. She laughs super hard as she's getting into the Uber. I mean, what the hell else can you do? I texted her that I was sorry about her cheek, let her know to text me when she made it home safe, and told her that I still had a great time with her. Because in fact I did, but I just got way higher than expected, and the date took the wildest turn in the world. I've never had anything like that happen to me. I wasn't expecting to ever hear from her again. She did text when she got home. Said her face looked fine, not to worry about it, and that she had fun. She was probably being nice. I still doubt I'll see her again after that disaster. I'm hoping I do, though, and we end up having the funniest FING first date story in the world. But the chances of that are slim to none. This happened last night. It's the morning after, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around how the fuck such a good first date could end so badly in the strangest twist of events. So I'm a 39-year-old man. I'm about 6 months out of my last relationship. Breakup sucked, took a lot of time to process, but I'm finally starting to feel better and comfortable dating. I'd been on a number of first dates over the summer and the fall just to keep myself out there. I work from home in a suburb, and my opportunities to meet women organically are pretty rare. So naturally, I'm using the dating apps. I've found that getting back to dating after about 2 years of being out of it, things are different and even shittier. I really hadn't hit it off with anyone I'd gone out with this summer. Even when I thought I had found a fun connection recently on another date, it went nowhere. Cue last night's date. She came out to meet me in my town, kind of a long Uber ride for her. We went out to dinner where I'd reserved a table, but we got there early and sat at the bar. She's gorgeous, funny, talkative, and we really just hit it off. We're having such a great time there that we ended up staying at the bar and sitting next to each other. Sitting side by side, having a great conversation and lots of touching. Ended up there a few hours, one thing led to another, and we were kissing at the bar. We decided to grab the check and head back to my place to kick it and smoke a little weed. For background, I've been smoking quite a bit this year starting in summer, but I'm still pretty sensitive to THC. It can really quiet me down, and if I get really high, I definitely get some temporary anxiety while high, and it goes away. It's something that kind of happens on the way up. So we're hanging in the living room on my couch. I pack a big bowl for us, pass it to her so she can smoke it first. She hits it hard and hands it back to me, and I inattentively take a pretty massive hit without thinking about it. I'm instantly way higher than I'd planned or was really able to deal with in that situation with someone new, where there was already a lot of sexual tension in the room. So we're chatting, and she says something about how she was in a 12-year relationship. She took some time for herself, and she's just getting back into dating, and just wanted me to know. Instead of having any remark like about how that's a long time or asking her how long she's been single or if she was married. Anything at all. Instead, I was confused about how we got onto the topic. So my response was basically, yeah. And she replied, yeah, and then things just got awkward as fuck. I was so high that I was basically nonverbal, and she just opened up about something pretty personal. Complete disconnect. I think we ended up laughing about it after I said sorry. I was just super duper baked. We moved on, but it definitely was a little weird. We hang for another few minutes, and then she says she had a great time, and she's sorry, but she needs to get back home because she has a family brunch in the morning. Totally chill and makes sense. She lives like an hour away, it's past midnight, and she needs to be up early to spend time with family. I was still just high as fuck and acting a little awkward. I was frustrated at myself for it. So she's grabbing her coat and putting her shoes on as her Uber is getting closer. Important to note that she was wearing heels that were super high. I am hanging out on the couch talking with her, and she's standing a few feet away. Next thing I know, she loses her footing and falls straight towards me. I'm sitting on the couch with a knee up. She falls face first and whacks her cheekbone right on my kneecap. Instantly she grabs her cheek, and I'm like, dude, are you okay? I grab her an ice pack and apologize profusely. Her face is basically red and starting to swell, and her Uber is coming. We tried to laugh it off, but holy shit was that shocking. The mood was completely wrecked, and all of the tension between us transformed into the weirdest fucking energy. Keep in mind I'm still high as a kite. I walk her outside to her Uber, where it's raining. I hadn't put my shoes on or anything, just wearing socks and walking her out in the rain. She laughs super hard as she's getting into the Uber. I mean, what the hell else can you do? I texted her that I was sorry about her cheek, let her know to text me when she made it home safe, and told her that I still had a great time with her. Because in fact I did, but I just got way higher than expected, and the date took the wildest turn in the world. I've never had anything like that happen to me. I wasn't expecting to ever hear from her again. She did text when she got home. Said her face looked fine, not to worry about it, and that she had fun. She was probably being nice. I still doubt I'll see her again after that disaster. I'm hoping I do, though, and we end up having the funniest FING first date story in the world. But the chances of that are slim to none. This happened in 2008, shortly after I got stationed in South Korea, Republic of Korea officially. I was a lowly private, albeit a reasonably attractive woman in my early 20s. I was out one night with some friends when a tall, funny redhead guy, who happened to be one of my friend's soldiers, asked to take me out to dinner. Friend told me it was a bad idea. I asked why, but he wouldn't give me details. My exact words were, "What's the worst that could happen? I get a free meal, and we don't click." As you may have guessed, this was not, in fact, the worst that could happen. The following evening, we were supposed to meet at the taxi stand outside Post, but he was late. He calls to tell me he's at the ATM and asks if I have cash for the taxi. Not a great start, but sure, I can spring for the taxi. He gets to the taxi stand. We ask the Korean taxi driver, in our mash of Korean and English, to take us to the nearby Air Force Base, which houses the only Chili's on the peninsula. Something to the effect of Adishi, Ozan Kajusayo, "Sir, take us to Ozan, please." We're going through back roads, and I ask what he thinks of Korea so far. He starts going off on a rant about how these people don't even speak English, and I must have looked at him like he had lost his mind. As I open my mouth to speak, a little boy loses his ball and runs into the street to get it. This set read off all over again, talking about these people have no common sense, and just really racist, weird, and out-of-touch comments. When he finally takes a breath, I remind him that we're in their country, not the other way around, and that everyone's been really respectful, so I'm not sure what his problem was in the first place. He gets mad and puts his headphones on, not saying another word to me the whole way to Ozan. When we finally pull up to Ozan Air Force Base, I lean forward to pay the driver, and he says, in perfect English with an American accent, "Thank you, ma'am. That will be X amount of won." And I could feel the blood rush to my face. Red does a double take at this man's English and darts out of the cab. I apologize profusely, and the driver reminds me he speaks English, tells me he spent 10 years in Chicago, and that he knows I wasn't the one being awful. I tipped him as well as I could, thanked him, and apologized again. We had to take another, shorter taxi ride once on base to the Chili's. Red remained silent, and not surprisingly, I paid for this one too. Red, who is about 6 feet 2, dressed in baggy, bleach white shoes, pants, t-shirt, and baseball cap, decides to go to the restroom as soon as we're seated. He comes back, immediately and loudly commenting on everyone staring at him. Trying to lighten the mood, I say that it's strange how clear it is which guys are Army and which are Air Force. He asks how I can tell, which is almost funny to me, and I use the phrase "pretty boys" to describe the AF guys, and say the soldiers all look a little tougher. He starts actually yelling at me that if I like AF guys so much, I should go out with one of them. I just stared at him. Server comes, I ask for a water. There's no way I want to be drunk around this dude. He insists that the margaritas are the only reason to come to Chili's, and orders one for me. The server is a young woman who looks at me nervously, but I just nod to let her know it's fine. I ordered a buffalo chicken salad. He orders 2 appetizers, beer and a steak. I had 1 sip of the margarita, and let him finish it, on top of the 3 or 4 beers he has. He snaps at the server, sends his food back, just everything he could have done. We don't talk much. The server brings the check and he says to her, "Oh, we'll split it right down the middle," or something very clearly to the effect of I'm paying 50% of that number. She looks at me again, and I take the check from her. I am totally done at this point. "Oh, if we're going to split it, let's split it. These beers are yours, the steak was yours, the appetizers are yours. Technically the margarita was mine, even though you drank it, but I'll take that and my salad, and you, sir, can pay for the rest." The server is just standing there awkwardly staring as I finally raise my voice at this jerk. He opens his mouth to say something and I snap, "What? Did I miss something?" And I hand her cash as he hands her his card. He didn't even tip, but I did. Off post, tipping is rude, but frankly, she more than earned it. He was totally silent the entire ride back, which of course I paid for. I let his supervisor / my friend, who had warned me, know how it went down, and apologized for not heeding the warning. Somehow, at PT the next morning, Red had showed up in the wrong uniform and was smoked quite severely, I heard, but we never spoke again. Honestly, I don't know why I'm writing this. I guess even if it helps a single romantic somewhere in the world, it will be worth it. I went on a date with a girl I'd matched on a dating app. As an average-looking guy, I don't get many matches, and the ones I get usually end up ghosting or unmatching me for no reason. Men will know that feeling. Anyway, this girl was different than the rest. We matched, talked for a few hours, and decided to go on a date the very next day. A surprise but a welcome one. The next day comes, and we meet and share a bottle of wine. A few awkward moments in the beginning, but that's understandable for a first date. Overall, it was a pleasant date, and I thought she shared the same sentiment. We part ways, and my fuck-up commences. I liked her enough to send a message in the next few hours, but decided to consult some of my friends and sleep on it first. Everyone gives a different advice, and I decide to follow the 3-day rule in dating, thinking that giving her too much attention too soon would scare her off. For those who don't know the 3-day rule, it's waiting at least 3 days to text or call a girl after the first date. I wound up caving in and messaging her a day later. Told her that I had a plan for our 4th date. We talked about our upcoming 2nd and 3rd dates, half jokingly. She seemed very offended about me not texting her for a full day after our date. I tried to explain that I was swamped at work and only had very short windows of opportunity to text, and waited until I'm fully available to talk. I apologized twice and expressed my willingness to go on another date. She sent me a few cold messages and finally unmatched me. We could have been really good together, but I decided to follow a stupid rule and not my heart. Because of that, maybe I've missed a beautiful chance at love, who knows? Everyone is different, and they have different feelings and opinions about dating, but I've learned that I should follow my heart from now on, and I suggest every hopeless romantic out there do the same thing. Full disclosure, this happened several years ago, and he is now my ex-boyfriend. But something made me remember this story today. My ex-boyfriend was a big fan of grand gestures and surprise dates. He took me to all kinds of cool stuff to surprise me, like an Oban festival, a special old-school Star Trek movie showing, an art museum, even a surprise interstate road trip on my birthday. For his birthday, I resolved to pay him back with his own nice surprise. We had been together for 10 months at that point, so I thought I knew what would suit him. A picnic at a beautiful outdoor conservatory, a walk around the zoo, and the surprise, tickets to a butterfly conservatory, basically a glass dome filled with lush greenery, flowers, and hundreds of butterfly species flying freely. Not this specific one, but this video gives you an idea what it's like. I had always gone to the butterfly house with my family as a little kid, and I loved it so much. It was special to me, and I was so excited to share it with him. He was having a great time walking around with me by the lakes and at the picnic. I kept hyping him up, saying, "I can't wait until the final surprise. I hope you love it. You're going to love it." We got to the entrance, they tore our tickets, and I let him in Belle at the Library and Beauty Dash and the Beast style. I still won't shut up, trying to get him hyped. Finally, the moment of truth. I took my hands off his eyes and watched him behold the kaleidoscopic beauty surrounding him. Immediately, his face blanched, and he looked like someone had just punched him in the stomach. He was cowering and clinging to my arm when a butterfly flew past him. Are you okay, dear?" "I'm fine," he said with a classic hide the pain Harold grimace. "You don't seem fine. Did something happen?" He looked ill and muttered, "Why would people pay to go to a place people let disgusting bugs land on them?" I must have looked hurt because he tried to pull himself together, put on a brave face, and grabbed my arm tight. Before we could even get going any further, he pulled away from me and started shouting, "Oh God, it's in your hair, it's in your hair." Before I could even tell what was going on, he had tried to run out the exit with employees chasing him, calling, "Wait, we have to check you for stowaway butterflies." It was chaos. Kids were watching him from their strollers. Some were screaming and crying. When I finally caught up with him, he had thrown up in the trash can by the duck pond. I apologized profusely, and he said it wasn't my fault. His fear of moths/butterflies just hadn't come up in conversation yet. I couldn't have known. We just kind of stared blankly at the pond until he said, "Let's just go home." I started sending a few messages back and forth with this girl from OkCupid, and she seemed pretty cool, so we decided to meet up and go get a bite to eat. I drove down to pick her up and texted her when I was parked outside. I got a reply saying that she would be right out. I decided that I should get out of my car just so that way it would be way easier to spot where I was at. After a few minutes I heard a, "Hey Chickenston," and turned to see her. I knew things were off to start with because she was easily 60+ pounds heavier than any of the pictures that she had posted on OKC. Whatever, weight isn't terribly important to me. So I say hello back and we get in my car and start to drive to the restaurant. Within 10 minutes of driving and small talk, she turns to me and says, "Chickenston, where do you see your relationship going?" I awkwardly say that I don't really know since we just met. I tell her that I'm on OKC because I am looking to start a relationship, but it is just way too early to tell. After a few minutes she turns and tells me that the house I picked her up isn't actually hers. She is living there currently and is staying with her ex-boyfriend. However, the ex also lives with his mother. The kicker is that the mother doesn't know that she is staying there. So basically she has been sneaking in and out of the place. We proceed to have a rather awkward lunch with a bit more small talk, and once we finish eating, she asks if we can go to the park. I should have noped out of there as I was already feeling pretty uncomfortable with the situation. However, we went to the park, which is where the real horror started. As we're walking around the park, the girl gets a phone call. It's the ex-boyfriend, and he tells her that his mother has come home early and that she can't come back for a while. The girl is clearly upset after hanging up and turns to me. "Chickenston, can I stay with you tonight? I really want to be your woman." Stunned, but retaining my senses, I tell her that she can't stay with me and that I'm really not comfortable with the situation. I tell her that I'll drop her off at Starbucks later. I decided to run to the bathroom really quickly and begin to frantically text all of my friends telling them to call me and say that they were locked out of the apartment and need my help. I probably should have just told the girl that I needed to leave, but I wasn't thinking clearly anymore. Eventually one of my friends calls me and I tell her that I have to go let him in the apartment. The girl and I get in the car and proceed to the nearest Starbucks. When we pull up to Starbucks, the girl turns to me and again begs to stay with me tonight as she still wants to be my woman. I tell her no, and then she starts to cry. Not a few tears, but straight out bawling. I'm sitting there awkwardly when I start to smell a strong hint of urine. I look down and she has clearly pissed herself in the front seat of my car. At that point I tell her to please get out of my car, and when she does I drove to a nearby gas station and proceeded to clean my car. I've had my fair share of bad dates, and honestly, they've left me with enough stories to write a tragic comedy. But two of them really take the cake. Let me break them down for you. Just don't judge me too hard for my questionable decision-making. Hindsight is, unfortunately, 20/20ths. Date disaster number 1. The setup from hell. This one started off on a bad note and somehow got worse. My ex, yes, my ex, decided it would be a great idea to set me up with one of his friends. Now, I know what you're thinking. What kind of sadistic ex sets you up with someone? And why did I agree to this? Good questions. I don't have good answers. I'd talked to the guy a couple of times, and he seemed okay. Nothing special, but not a walking red flag either. So against my better judgment, I went along with it and set up a date. Here's where things started to crumble. He didn't have a car at the time, so I offered to pick him up. Not ideal, but fine, right? We agreed on a time, and I drove the 45 minutes to his place. I got there, texted him, and nothing. I waited, and waited. After about 30 minutes, I should have turned around and gone home. But no, I'm apparently too patient for my own good. Finally, 1.5 hours later, yes, you read that right, he called me. Not to apologize, mind you, but to casually say, yeah, you can head over now. Like I was just sitting in my car twiddling my thumbs, which, to be fair, I kind of was. For reasons I still don't fully understand, I didn't tell him to get lost. Instead, I drove the 45 minutes to pick him up. And that's when I realized just how bad this was going to get. The second he got in my car, I was hit with a wall of body odor. I swear, it was like he hadn't showered in weeks. I immediately rolled the windows down, despite the fact that it was freezing outside, and tried not to gag. He didn't seem to notice or care. We finally get to dinner, and that's when the second-hand embarrassment kicked in. The meal itself was fine, nothing memorable, but when the bill came, he left a grand total of $2 as a tip. $2. I wanted to sink into the floor. I'm not even sure why I didn't just throw down extra money to cover it, but I guess I was too stunned by the audacity of it all. And then came the grand finale. After dinner, he asked me to drop him off at a friend's house. Sure, whatever. But here's the kicker, he had no idea how to get there. He gave me vague directions that took us through this maze of one-way streets in the city, and I was practically screaming by the time we finally found the place. I don't even know how he managed to have a friend there when he couldn't even figure out where it was. By the time I dropped him off, I was mentally and emotionally drained. Needless to say, I never saw him again, and I silently cursed my ex for thinking this setup was a good idea. Date disaster number 2. The walking ego trip. If you thought the first story was bad, just wait. This one is a whole different flavor of awful. So this guy, let's call him Mr. Big Shot, asked me out for drinks and a movie. I should have been wary when I found out I'd need to pick him up again. But clearly, I hadn't learned my lesson. I showed up at the agreed time, only for him to be nowhere in sight. I waited for 20 minutes in my car, texting him every few minutes, until he finally strolled up like he had all the time in the world. No apology, no explanation, just a casual, "Hey, you ready?" We headed to a bar first, and right away, I could tell this wasn't going to go well. He was one of those guys, the kind who talks endlessly about himself without even pretending to be interested in you. I couldn't get 2 words in because he was too busy bragging about how much money he supposedly had, how he traveled all the time, and how he used to play professional basketball in another country. Spoiler, he definitely did not. But the most annoying part, he kept ordering drinks for me. I'd barely finish one, and he'd order another while I was in the bathroom. It wasn't cute or charming, it was just annoying. I didn't even drink half of them, because I was already over the whole situation. At some point, he also ordered an appetizer, which he inhaled without offering me a single bite. Not that I wanted any, but still the lack of basic decency was astounding. Then came the bill. I was already bracing myself for him to pay since he was so busy bragging about his wealth. But nope. He asked if I wanted to split it. At that point, I was so done, I didn't even argue. I paid my half, tip included. But then I noticed he didn't leave any tip. None. 0. Zilch. I was mortified, so I threw an extra to make up for it. By the time we walked out, I was ready to go home, but of course, Mr. Big Shot had other plans. "Hey," he said, leaning back casually in the passenger seat. "Can you drop me off at this club in the city?" Mind you, the club was about 30 minutes out of my way, and I'd already driven him around enough for one night. I stared at him for a solid 5 seconds, debating whether to just leave him on the curb. But against my better judgment, I agreed. The entire drive to the club, he kept rambling about how the night was just getting started, and how he was going to meet up with some mates. I didn't say a word. The second we got there, he hopped out without so much as a thank you, and I drove home in silence, fuming.